Hi, it's Miss Townsend. This video is for data management students to help them with a probability question from the unit practice questions. It's this question, question number 10. Traffic officers in a small town did a safety blitz of all drivers who used a particular intersection on a particular day. I don't need to read that one again because there's no math there. It was discovered that, okay, here comes the math. It was discovered that 22% of drivers are not wearing a seatbelt, and 35% of drivers are on their cell phone, and then 8% of drivers were not wearing their seatbelt and also on their cell phone. Oh, that's awful. Don't do that. What is the probability that a randomly selected driver will be wearing their seatbelt and not on their cell phone? So I think what makes this question particularly worth discussing and not as straightforward as some other similar questions is just the language choice and the vocabulary, because I'm giving you information about something not happening and I'm asking you about the probability that it does happen. And quite often questions will reverse that. Usually the information you're given is about like an affirmative statement. A person is wearing their seatbelt. The other part, the cell phone, they are on their cell phone, but I'm asking you the probability they're not. So what occurs to me, a nice way to approach this question is to use a Venn diagram. Because what a Venn diagram does, I've got two situations, seatbelt and cell phone, and the two situations in a Venn diagram, you have a region which is the seatbelt region, and then everything else is the not seatbelt region. So it allows us to look at this sort of binary yes or no. So let me set up my Venn diagram. And I'm going to do something that is not typical of a Venn diagram, but you'll see why it actually kind of works out nicely. I'm going to call this section the not seatbelt people. And I recommend that if you're like, that's going to mess you up, then come up with a word that doesn't use the word not to talk about those people. So the not seatbelt people, I'm going to call them the dangerous people. So if you're not wearing a seatbelt, you are a dangerous person. So you can consider them to be the dangerous people. And then we have people who are on the cell phone. I mean, they're also dangerous, but, because really, again, what makes this question a little more frustrating is the negative vocabulary of what I know. So if they're not wearing a seatbelt, I'm going to call them dangerous, and then cell phone. So the other thing is, often in a Venn diagram, we want to use amounts. A Venn diagram is helpful for organizing counting, but we can also use it to organize probability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think of every one of these probability statements as the number of people out of 100. I mean, that's literally what percent means, right? Per cent, the French version for 100. Probability means 22 out of 100. So I'm just going to also pretend that that's 22 people who were dangerous, not wearing a seatbelt, 35 people who were on their cell phone, and then 8% who were dangerous and on their cell phone. So that means 8 people would go in the middle of that intersection, because those are the people not wearing a seatbelt and also on the cell phone. And now I can go backwards and talk about the 22% or 22 people not wearing a seatbelt. So this circle is where all of those dangerous not seatbelt wearers go. I've already counted 8 of them, and I need 22 total. So if I do 22 subtract 8, I get 14. So that circle adds to 22. And then the cell phone circle, I know 35% of the people were using their cell phone. So I've already counted 8 of them in the middle. So there's 27 people out here. So what I'm looking for are the people who are not wearing their seat belts. So in other words, they're not the dangerous seatbelt situation. And they're also not on their cell phone. So they're not doing any of those bad things. Right? So these are all considered to be bad things when you're driving. And so these are the people who are like, yay, thank you for not risking everyone's lives. So how many people would go in this spot? Well, we know that there's 100 people total because we turn percent into the number out of 100. And if I add up what I've already looked at, I've already looked at 49 people, so there must be 51 people unaccounted for, which means that 51% of people are wearing their seatbelt, not wearing their seatbelt, and not on their cell phone. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Thanks.